All right, here we are back at Realcomm Live. Josh, so great to have you here. This is like an homecoming or just a reunion, right? Every time we have these events.
Yeah.
What really struck me this time, every time, is how deep this community is. We were just trying to figure out when we met. It's got to be at least 10 years ago. And you just told me something about yourself that you think you know somebody. I have no idea. So why don't you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your amazing history and experience that got you here today. And then we're going to talk about what we're talking about.
Sure, thanks, Jim. Yeah, always a pleasure to come to your events and to learn, to interact, and to dive deep. That's
the key.
thing,
That's the key,
right?
yeah.
It's to dive deep, and that's what I need for what I do.
Right.
So I started out in residential real estate at a property management company here in Palo Alto. And at the time I started, they weren't even using company email.
I know that story.
It was 2005, but they weren't using company email, and they were using an old version of Yardi on a black and green screen.
Right. DOS, probably.
So I brought them up to what was then the 20th century, right? And we went online,
get your discs.
used Yardi Voyager, and changed technology there. Went paperless.
So you've been fighting the battles for a long time.
Yeah, since 2005. Then I went to BlackRock. And
Was it BlackRock out here or New York?
here in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so at BlackRock, also working with Yardi there.
Big company.
Big company. We had billions of dollars of assets under management.
Wow.
As an investment manager with trillions of dollars of assets, there's real estate, right?
Absolutely.
So that was tracked in our Yardi, and I worked with over 100 different third-party property management companies. So all the people who come to the Gray Stars and all of them, I've been working with them for years.
Wow. At a detail level.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing new things, like lease accounting for commercial cam recoveries was something so new and novel. It hadn't been done before. And automating something like that out of a lease. Of course, that was back when we had to read leases. Now we have AI that will read leases.
And was that cloud at that point, or that was still?
It was cloud.
It was cloud.
We called it an ASP.
Right, application service provider. Not many people know that.
Yes, we were doing cloud before it was cloud.
Amen to that,
Yeah.
brother.
And then I was obviously here in Silicon Valley. I've been in 3 startups: a smart home hardware startup, a smart home app, and then a smart building startup.
Right.
And then now I'm at Visa, and I'm actually in my 3rd role at Visa.
Wow.
I've been there 5 years.
I mean, we talk about community, we take it for granted, but I look at people around the room, been with, in many cases, multiple companies in their journey, but they keep coming back, they keep sharing. And I think you made there's a lot of conversations out there about real estate tech, prop tech, whatever you want to talk about it, but these conversations are so deep. So many of the other conversations, AI is cool, let's do it, shiny new object. What we're seeing today is not FOMO, it's not hype. I mean, we're seeing legitimate case studies and lines of code and having technical conversations that only people like you understand.
Yeah, well, being here in the Valley, I forget what year it was. A number of years back over at Stanford, I helped put together a panel discussion with venture capitalists talking about artificial intelligence, and I learned what neural networks were. And we
How long ago?
This was a number of years ago. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
It would have been probably around 2015, 17 time frame.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is at the time, the technical people who believed in this were like, it's going to get there, it's going to get there, it's going to be awesome.
That's the part of the curve where it's the early adopt, or the innovators actually, they believe. Yeah.
And the rest of us heard about it maybe December last year, right?
Well, we actually talked about it on our general session stage with Yardi and Tritium in 2016.
Okay.
So that's 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
that would have been
Cade
an
Metz,
early stage conversation.
Cade Metz, Wired magazine was on the stage. And we're like, wow, but we all went dormant.
Yeah.
We tried to push it, and the industry said, nah. So, but you're right. Fall of last year, the whole world woke up.
And now it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And it takes so much to wrap your arms around what it is. It's like generative and machine and visual and audio and all the different applications. I mean, it's everything, right? And so in my IT career, I usually kept up, right? But it was incremental over time. This is like, poof.
Yeah.
And now we're all expected to be AI experts, and it's hard.
Well,
that's why we did this event.
And so I'll tell you something. The Visa has an internal instance of ChatGPT, ChatGPT 4. We're one of the companies that have our own private instance so that we can discuss more confidential things with the AI for generative AI. And so the first day that we had it, I was like, great, you know, I'll open it up, I log in, and I'm like, now what do I do? And I had a flashback, Jim, to like 1994, when I first heard the internet, and it's like you got connected, and you're like, now what do I do?
Our careers track so close because that first gray HTML page was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Although 1999, my daughter was born, I actually published her birth every 3 minutes. I was taking a picture of my wife, posting it to an HTML page.
Wow.
And then my wife had complications and we shut it off and everybody's freaking out.
Oh, no.
So we were webcasting so our careers track.
Yeah.
Amazing. So now you're a Visa, right? And you're now with one of the biggest financial institutions in the world. Years, decades of experience. Been using AI, as you've explained to me, for a while. What happens when you walk into this place where it's very common based upon what your business does, but then you got to start applying it to buildings and the built environment? How did that all unfold?
You know, it's an interesting thing. They always say the cobbler's kids need shoes, right? Yeah. So in some ways, AI and the technology for Visa's business, Visa's payment platform, fantastic. You can go out on the internet.
Saved me a bunch of times,
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't buy a refrigerator in Fort Worth.
And
3 months
AI
ago.
would have discovered that. And Visa's been using that AI since 1993 for fraud detection and managing fraud for over 30 years, right?
Wow.
And over that time period has invested over $3 billion in AI. And this is last month, October, announced a $100 million fund for venture capital for AI startups.
From fintech.
We have a fintech arm.
Wow. I mean, that's a long time, substantial commitment. Where do people are just starting out? How do they catch up?
That's a good question. I'd say get some help, get some good help.
There's some people in this room that are there to help.
The
solution providers, Yardi, MRI, VTS, Johnson Controls, all
and
in.
We'll try it out. You got to try stuff out. Yeah. Try it, try and fail. And so, we do the same thing with business, with whichever vendor or thing we're testing or piloting, or how we're constructing our smart building, or what. We all have to take a certain amount of risk at learning a new technology and then trying it out, and doing so in a way that we're improving our business.
So what was your aha moment? When did you go, ooh, this has got real potential? Was there a search that you did, or a prompt, as you will? What was that moment where you said, this is legit, I got to really dive in?
Well,
First day?
Well, before then, back when I was looking at this and learning about neural networks, 7-10 years ago, because it's just been something that's fascinating, and you could see where the technology is going. Compute power becoming readily available, storage becoming readily available, big data becoming more and more data to train models on, and then of course the science advancing and just at an accelerated pace.
So being here in the Valley, with all these tech companies, and I would consider Visa a tech company for all intents and purposes.
I would agree.
Yeah, it happens to deal with finance, right?
We're a platform company.
Right, but when you're in those halls, are you influenced by all the technology? And we see so many case studies on smart buildings and campuses, and now AI coming out of the Valley, because you're about tech first, and then, oh, by the way, we got a lot of big buildings, let's see what we can do. Has it helped you?
We are influenced. I would say in some ways it's helped, because we actually, when we try something out, we have to do it very securely to make sure that we're protecting, that any solution that we use in corporate services goes under the same level of scrutiny as if it were a payment network.
Are there many corporate real estate groups, facility, workplace, whatever we want to call it? Are a lot of people having this conversation, or are you and a small group of you still the anomaly?
I think there's a mix, and it would depend. So let's speak a little bit generally about other organizations. Right. I think that we struggle with the same struggles that every other organization does. Okay. Whether it's a tech company or not, we're still corporate services, and we still have the physical challenges of the built environment.
Right. So. But access to this technology and this innovation, doesn't it give you a different toolkit than people who don't have these skills or these insights?
Visa's partnering with Microsoft. Any company can do that.
Right.
And
Microsoft's here.
Yeah, exactly.
In a big way.
Right. And our ChatGPT is, and we're using Microsoft Teams with AI integrated for various. There are all sorts of things that are there, and there are many more that are coming.
Okay, so of the things you're going to show on stage, what's the one that just pops out at you? What's the use case, the case study that just says, wow?
So, there was one time where I asked it to create a couple of training slides and generate the content and the script. And it just did it, right? And if I had to ask somebody on the team to do that, and then they would come back and you look at it again, like that. It's the like that happens, that you can pull something out and you say, here's something, turn this into some slide bullets and give me a script. And it's done.
Well, and we're playing around, as you know, with it here at the conference, where we got an AI resource sitting next to the stage, listening to the conversations, pulling up some stuff. We're learning, move the screen, got some more cameras, that we need some context. But I'm amazed. I mean, the same question that's asked one of the speakers, it pops up on the screen, and you're like, who's telling the truth?
Right.
We're not challenging anybody's truth or not, but how can you have a conference room? How can you have an office? How can you have an executive business center without these resources, right? I mean, this is going to define the built environment, not just the back office operations, but the front office where we're working. Cube Farm's dead, right?
Yeah.
Open space, nice, pretty. Where's the tech that's going to enable this power to be not just at our desktops or our phones, but like everywhere we're meeting and collaborating? That's what I think is a big opportunity.
We got Copilot taking notes for us. Copilot for
Yeah,
Microsoft, right?
yeah.
So we have things that, like tasks that were time consuming and that maybe we didn't even do appropriately because of the time consuming nature of them, that AI can pick up on and do for us. It's just great. I've seen meeting notes from meetings, and we're using.
You're
these
using that
tools.
via Teams, the transcribe, yeah. I've been through mini computer to PC, distributed PC, first paradigm shift, structured proprietary networks to open internet. 3 phases of the internet now. First HTML, rich media, full business interactivity, and now this. So this is probably my 5th. This feels like it could be one of the, because the highway is laid, the networks are in place, standard networks. Everybody's able to talk to each other to some extent. The data sets are getting bigger. But as humans, we can't manage them. Here comes AI.
Yeah, and what I would say, to recommend to you or to anybody, is just use it.
Use it.
Try it, tinker with it, figure out how to talk to it. I like to talk to it just like a colleague. Just say,
Do you use
hey,
voice prompt as opposed to?
I can, or I just type out something and essentially converse.
Right.
And I also have done things where I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you some information. Don't do anything yet.
Right.
Just acknowledge.
Is it built
and then
into
have a conversation
the Microsoft
later.
platform, or are you still using a separate ChatGPT?
I use it in the browser.
In the browser
page, yeah.
I would envision at some point it's going to be built into the Microsoft stack, so it's right there in the
I'm
meeting.
looking forward for when it creates my slides and does everything.
Yeah.
It'll be fantastic.
But maybe we won't need slides.
Maybe we won't. Maybe
What's
we
coming?
won't.
The beach, the mountains, the hut.
Right.
Josh, as always, a pleasure seeing you, catching up, sharing your insights with our audience, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. So,
Well, thanks.
thank you.
All right.